So here's something that's interesting. Our friend Caitlin Johnstone tweeted out, the Ukraine war is the single most aggressively trolled issue I've ever witnessed. As soon as it started, this site was full of brand new accounts swarming anyone who uttered wrongthink about Ukraine. And now there are entire extremely coordinated troll factions. Very inorganic. So I've said this about Twitter and other social media platforms, that the CIA and the intelligence community has their fingers in it. Of course they do. Of course they do. And then the Gray Zone exposed some YouTubers were getting money from the intelligence community in England to do videos attacking people who were questioning the COVID narrative. People like me who were questioning the vaccine narrative and the COVID narrative. And questioning lockdowns. They were funding YouTubers to make negative videos about them. And she's pointing this same phenomena out. And then she tweeted this out. She goes, how do we miss this? This article is 11 years old. Revealed U.S. spy operation that manipulates social media. Military sock puppet software creates fake online identities to spread pro-American propaganda. What? You didn't write jokes for this, right?
No, I didn't get this till the end.
The U.S. military is developing software that will let it secretly manipulate social media sites by using fake online personas to influence internet conversations and spread pro-American propaganda. A Californian corporation has been awarded a contract with the United States Central Command, CENTCOM, which oversees U.S. armed operations in the Middle East and Central Asia, to develop what is described as an online persona management service that will allow one U.S. serviceman or woman to control up to 10 separate identities based all over the world. The project has been likened by web experts to China's attempt to control and restrict free speech on the internet. Critics are likely to complain that it will allow the U.S. military to create a false consensus in online conversations, crowd out unwelcome opinions, and smother commentaries or reports that do not correspond with its own objectives. Of course, that's what's happening.
11 years ago? So whatever happened with that? Did they stick with that?
Well, I bet they got rid of it. So here, Caitlin Johnstone says this. She goes, how did we miss this year-old Newsweek report about a secret and unaccountable Pentagon undercover force which carries out domestic and foreign assignments that includes campaigns to influence and manipulate social media? So this is from Newsweek from a year ago. The largest undercover force the world has ever known is the one created by the Pentagon over the past decade. Some 60,000 people now belong to this secret army, many working under masked identities and in low profile, all part of a broad program called Signature Reduction. The force, more than 10 times the size of the clandestine elements of the CIA, I'll read that again, the force, more than 10 times the size of the clandestine elements of the CIA, carries out domestic and foreign assignments. Domestic! Both in military uniforms and under civilian cover. In real life and online, sometimes hiding private businesses and consultancies, some of them household name companies. It goes on. The newest and fastest growing group in this clandestine army that never leaves their keyboards. These are the cutting-edge cyber fighters and intelligence collectors who assume false personas online, employing non-attribution and misattribution techniques to hide the who and the where of their online presence while they search for high-value targets and collect what is called publicly accessible information, or even engage in campaigns to influence and manipulate social media. Hundreds work in and for the NSA, but over the past 5 years, every military intelligence and special operations unit has developed some kind of web operations cell that both collects intelligence and tends to the operational security of its very activities. So that stuff that they're saying Russia is doing, they've been doing it for over 11 years. And they're doing it to you, the American citizen, which used to be illegal. Newsweek's exclusive report on this secret world is the result of a 2-year investigation involving the examination of over 600 resumes and 1,000 job postings, dozens of Freedom of Information requests, and scores of interviews with participants and defense decision makers. What emerges is a window into not just a little-known sector of the American military, but also a completely unregulated practice. No one knows the program's total size, and the explosion of signature reduction has never been examined for the impact on military policies and culture. Congress has never even held a hearing on the subject, and yet the military, developing this gigantic clandestine force, challenges U.S. laws, the Geneva Conventions, the Code of Military Conduct, and basic accountability. So all that stuff they want you to worry about, Russia and China and somebody else manipulating social media, it's your own government doing it, and they're doing it at the behest of the military-industrial complex, which is why we're in a million wars and we have 1,000 bases around the country, around the world, and no one cares. Why we just gave $54 billion to the most corrupt country in Europe. Well, that same money could have fixed homelessness in the United States 3 times over. That's the result. That's one of the results. And why are they allowed to do this? Because of this. The Smith-Mundt Modernization Act of 2012, or the SMMA. What is that, Jimmy? This sounds boring. I'll tell you what it is. It was an act that said that the United States government could not propagandize their own citizens, meaning you and me. That the government could do propaganda to foreigners, but they couldn't propagandize our own citizens. That's a good idea. They got rid of it. The SMA established blah, 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 blah. Put simply, our government, so the SMA established that via the Broadcasting Board of Governors, Voice of America, and Radio Free Europe, the United States Department and Office of Public Affairs were authorized to disseminate propaganda to foreign publics, but were strictly prohibited from releasing that same propaganda in America for public consumption. Put simply, our government was permitted to lie to people in their countries, but not to us here at home. What happened? Well, Barack Obama changed all that. The prohibition was lifted in 2012 when the SMMA was signed into law by President Obama, allowing the same propaganda disseminated by our government to foreign publics to now be released in the United States for the very first time. And yes, our government is also now allowed to create propaganda tailored specifically for the United States public consumption, using any media as it sees fit, while remaining anonymous as the source of the material being reported. The SMMA provides for ample funding for U.S. propaganda programming, incentivizing, get this, the corporate media cartel to partner with the BBG for a new source of revenue to backstop its operational budgets that have been declining due to years of increasingly low ratings, social media competition, loss of relevance, and the public's growing loss of confidence in media's reporting veracity, regardless of political affiliation. So I'm going to tell you what this means. They're saying that people are done with corporate media. And the corporate media is starting to lose revenue, market share, because people don't, the veracity of their reporting, I mean, they don't trust them. They think their reporting is false. And so that's one of the reasons why they're losing, plus social media. So they're losing relevance, corporate media, the establishment media, they're losing relevance, impact, and money. And so they're saying, this SMMA provides for ample funding for U.S. propaganda, so they can now give money to these corporate media people, the government, to print propaganda. The SMMA promotes unholy alliances between the United States Department, the U.S. State Department, and American corporate media that unbinds reporters and news departments from the solemn responsibility to verify information. So often through Russiagate, Syria, all the things that we cover, Venezuela, all the things we cover at this show, we've been showing you that they've just will straight propaganda, as if it came right from the CIA's lips, will be printed in the media. And now you know why. Because now they can lie to you and do propaganda, and it's not illegal. And corporate media seems to be able to get a paycheck for it. Grasping the importance of the SMMA in undermining America's free press, its impact on our governance, culture, and socioeconomic structure as a free society cannot be understated. I think he meant overstated. Not only is the Fourth Estate utterly compromised, meaning the media, the news media, not only is the news media utterly compromised relative to the information it does convey, but there is a far greater mission of corruption in the massive amount of need-to-know information it does not convey. So they don't tell you certain things, just like they don't tell you ivermectin is a Nobel Prize-winning medicine that is also on the WHO list of essential medicines, been prescribed billions of times and saved billions of lives. They don't tell you. That's the part that they leave out, and that's the point they're making. They leave out stuff. Just like, hey, the Ukraine military is infiltrated with Nazis. Stuff like that. They leave that out. Hey, it was the United States and NATO that helped institute a coup in Ukraine in 2014, which led to this invasion. They leave that out. This is what they're saying. Systematically omitting relevant information from the public forum, tailoring narratives and messaging in the guise of legitimate news, redundant scripting across networks, and disallowing nearly all critical debate or analysis is classic communications manipulation, strategically designed as part of a larger behavior modification agenda. Whose behavior are they modifying? Yours. Yours. That's what this is all about. Now, isn't that just the most disturbing thing you've read today? Just when you think the United States government intelligence agencies can't be more sneaky, underhanded, or deceitful, they not only are openly manipulating the news media, but covertly manipulating social media too. So there was, what was it called? Mockingbird, Operation Mockingbird, which is where they planted stories and they manipulated, they infiltrated news media, and that was revealed by the Church Committee. Right? Yes. That was called Operation Mockingbird. Go look, it's up. It has its own Wikipedia page. That's how much everyone knows it's real.
Is that why Twitter didn't want to give up the numbers of how much is bots and all that? Because they're probably CIA.
It's
a poorly run business, so they get money to.
So
story.
Turns out because the CIA budget is clandestine. We don't know what they're spending their money on for real. And so there you go. So when you see suspicion, just like, well, let's remember what started this. Caitlin Johnstone said the Ukraine war is the single most aggressively trolled issue I've ever witnessed. As soon as it started, this site was full of brand new accounts swarming anyone who uttered wrong think about Ukraine, and now there are entire extremely coordinated troll factions, very inorganic. And I'll tell you another thing, that just like on YouTube, there's an algorithm that boosts corporate news over independent news. Same thing on Twitter and Facebook. They suppress people like us, and they boost people who are friendly to the establishment. Like, how did I know with that Jank Nephew guy, that Haas guy? He got a puff piece written about him in Business Insider magazine, and for a week, when I logged into Twitter, they were promoting that article. Twitter was. So that's them. There's people who they like to promote. There's people who they don't. I'm one of the people they don't. And the people they do like are people who are sweet to the establishment, who will always tell you to vote Democratic and they're never going to tell you the truth about foreign policy or war or anything. The people who defend politicians. Those are the people they boost. I've gotten over 300,000 followers on Twitter. I've never had a tweet that I think got more than 15,000 likes. I see that happen. Some people fart on Twitter and they get 70,000 likes. You don't tell me that that's not being manipulated by the intelligence community? Of course, you're naive if you think otherwise. Wait till we get the church hearing on Twitter. Wait till we get the church hearing on Facebook and YouTube. We've already caught them. Gray Zone's already caught British intelligence paying people, YouTubers, to do negative videos about people who question vaccines or COVID narrative. We've already caught that.
I mean, what if it turns out nobody in real life has blue hair after all? I'm going to be, my reality will be shattered.
And so there you go. That's how Twitter works. That's how it's all spooks. It's all of course what doesn't Saudi Arabia own a lot of Twitter right now? And of course that's the CIA. Of course that's the NSA. Of course that's the intelligence. That's MI6. Of course that is. And why if you think they wouldn't be all over social media, you're the chump. You're the mark. Go ahead.
I can't believe we laughed at the TikTok lady.
Yeah. All right. I think that's our last story for today.
Thank God. That's the most disturbing story I've ever seen on the Jimmy Dore show.
That's a pretty disturbing.
I've been here,
isn't it?
I'm upset and I'd like to go.
July 3rd, we're doing a live show in Los Angeles, and then we're going to Chicago, Sacramento, San Diego, Bakersfield. See you there. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all our tickets.